Well, whenever we talk about server operating system deployment, it might be server 2019 or server 2022. We know that there are a number of roles inside the server operating system. Some of the roles don't require any kind of additional cost or any kind of additional licensing configuration. Like if we talk about the Hyper-V role, or if you can talk about the Active Directory, DHCP, DNS and all other roles which don't require any kind of additional cost. But there are some roles which require some additional licensing.
And this role is known as Remote Desktop Services with KL license deployment.
Hello and welcome to all of you on my productive and skill oriented platform. So before going with the deployment of remote desktop services and KL licensing deployment, we must have to understand that whenever we installed any server operating system, it might be server 2019 or it might be server 2022. It might be server data center edition or server standard edition. We must have to understand that there are number of roles and features available inside the server operating system. Now it's our duty, it's our job to deploy all kinds of roles and features according to our organizational requirements. Let's suppose if your organizational requirements are related with the authentication and authorization, so we must have to understand that for that purpose we need to deploy Active Directory domain services. And in the same manner, if I want to implement any kind of virtual machine infrastructure inside my data center, so for that purpose I will go with the Hyper-V deployment. And if I need any kind of name resolution with IP and naming services, so for that purpose I will deploy DNS inside the server roles. And in the same manner, if I want to deploy any kind of IP automatic configuration, so for that purpose I will go with the DHCP configuration. So in the same manner, if I talk about the remote desktop services, so we must have to understand the actual purpose of this role, or you can say this service. So if I talk about the server operating system server 2022, so by default this operating system will only allow 2 concurrent sessions. If third user want to connect with this server machine, so an error will appear on the screen that 2 users already have remote desktop session with this machine. If you want to connect with this machine, you need to disconnect any of the users which already make a connection with this machine. So now you understand that if we require more than 2 remote desktop session with our server operating system, so for that purpose we need to deploy remote desktop services. Now if we talk about how many concurrent sessions we can initiate after the deployment of remote desktop services, so answer is very simple. It's up to your KL licensing deployment. If you procure 10 user license from Microsoft, or 20 users or 30 users, it's up to the licensing deployment. If you deploy your KL license with 30 users, with 50 users, so that much users can make concurrent session with your server operating system. So I hope that now you understand the remote desktop services actual functionality. Now we will move with the deployment of remote desktop services, including the KL licensing information. So let's move with the deployment series.